Live from the Pickleball Giants studios in San Antonio, Mike Taylor and Sam Freese.
Well, what the fuck did we expect?
Oh, I didn't get 30 seconds in. That's okay.
No money on this one.
Blame the Cowboys. How you boys doing? It is Overreact. So let's do that. That's it. The season is over. The spread was 4 and the Cowboys didn't cover. And they ain't winning and they ain't advancing. And frankly, their ass don't deserve to. And had they been able to pull this game out of their butts today, they get housed next week in Philadelphia anyway. But we would have gotten an extra show out of it. But that all being said, nonetheless, it is over. The season is over. Just like that, the Cowboys go into San Francisco and waste one of the better playoff efforts from a defense they've ever had. Ever. I don't want to, we call the show Overreact. I mean, look, San Francisco's running a rookie quarterback out there who looked very much like a rookie today. He's calm and makes the plays that they call, but he ain't going to go out there and will nobody to a win. And San Francisco's probably going to get their ass kicked by those Eagles next week. But that being said, a night in which the Cowboys defense puts up one of the most impressive defensive efforts I've ever seen them put up as a franchise, frankly, in my 48 years watching. And they get beat because their offense falls all the way into the toilet, beginning with the quarterback who was terrible. The Cowboys offense tonight was non-competitive. They get 2 horrible interceptions from Dak Prescott that led to points. They can't score any points. Even when the Cowboys forced turnovers, finally they, on like that muffed punt, in which, well, it wasn't a muffed punt. It was the punt, the punter for the 49ers, the punt returner that got the ball knocked out. And they get the ball at midfield. They still can't score any touchdowns. And the fucking kicker misses an extra point, and the Cowboys get beat 19-12. Sorry for all the cussing, but man, what a juxtaposition of a game. One of the best defensive efforts ever by the Cowboys in the playoffs on the same night that the offense puts up one of the worst performances that the offense has ever put up. That was horrible, and what a difference a 6-day difference makes when we're all on here talking about how great that was by number 4, how he quieted all the doubters and had the perfect game, and that was one of the better games ever in the playoffs by a Cowboy quarterback, and it was. And you fast forward 6 days later, and maybe I was wrong. Maybe rather than say that was one of the better playoff games a quarterback's ever played for the Cowboys. And here's the asterisk, though, and now the asterisk gets put up for me for the Tampa Bay game because of what we saw tonight. The Cowboys were fortunate because they got to play a team that was 8-9. They got to play a Tampa Bay team that shouldn't even be in the playoffs. But because of the NFL's silly-ass rules where we have all these divisions and we get a team under 500 make the playoffs, the Cowboys look great. Fast forward to a game in which they play an actual good team that deserves to be in the postseason, and they're non-competitive, and they get beat, and they're going home, and they deserve it. And a long offseason begins, Puma. A long offseason indeed. And y'all are going to shit all over Dak, and I get it, and he deserves it, but you're stuck with him. So as we talk about what now, as we overreact, so here, the overreaction is this. Dak sucked tonight. But the other part of this show, as we go forward, we're stuck with him. Dak Prescott will be the quarterback next year and the year after that and probably the year after that. So this is a franchise that's going to have to figure out a way to try to win playoff games with Dak Prescott as their quarterback. And frankly, as I sit here right now, I'm not so confident they can do so. He's 30 years old. He's never been the same since he blew his leg out. He's had flashes in the pan. But when you put him up against a good team tonight, he looked like a rookie. He looked like a deer in the headlights. If you told me that Dak was in his rookie year tonight, I would have believed you because he was bad and non-competitive. And you're stuck with him. So that's it. It's a bitter pill to swallow. Playoff games are always hard when you get beat and face the end. And there's a long off season, and no doubt by next year we'll have our hopes back up again. But boy, I guess I kind of feel the same way as I did last year at this time, in which he was not good in the playoff game. And tonight against the 49ers, he was also not good. And there's where you are. And I'm not sure what to do about it, other than try to get as best as you can around him with better skill people. Build the offensive line. Tyler Smith will be in another year. Lots of questions, but the one thing we again, and I know you agree, we can sit here and criticize Dak all you want, and you're justified in doing so. But if you're not interested in watching next year's team because he's the quarterback, then don't do so. Because if you are interested in watching next year's team, too bad, Dak's your guy.
Yeah, no, it feels like, honestly, it feels like a lot of the same takeaways, a lot of the same emotion that we felt after the loss to San Francisco last year in the postseason.
Yeah,
it's
deja vu.
It's you're stuck with Dak. These are, at least last year, you didn't know what the team would do with Amari Cooper and some. Good Lord, I am like washed out. Yeah, I look way too white.
White boy.
Yeah, no.
That's George Kittle over there.
Well, I'll
wave
take
to the camera.
I'll take that as a compliment. Then, good Lord, yeah, I'm like fluorescent. No, these are the pieces you have, and this is last season based off the 12-win season, and then you're looking at, okay, we know we're locked into this core. At least
that's a draw.
This offseason, you're looking at finally being able to be out from underneath Zeke's contract. You're looking at Tony Pollard being a free agent. You're looking at Dalton Schultz being a free agent again, where you're going to have to decide how you handle that contract, whether it's an extension or a franchise tag. And after the last two plays of that last drive, I would say the instant reaction to bringing Dalton Schultz back is mediocre at best. This is, again, talking about how it felt last year versus this year. It feels like they finished exactly where they should have. There is still a significant gap between them and the upper echelon of the NFC, and I think it makes the offseason even more interesting, because do they actually, you saw Pollard go out with an injury, and you saw Zeke not be able to give them any kind of push whatsoever after Pollard went out. So, the writing's on the wall that Zeke is gone, but do they actually have the balls to get out from underneath that contract and move on? You've drafted Ferguson to replace Dalton Schultz. Do you actually have the balls to let Dalton Schultz walk this offseason? Because you're going to have to bring in some more skill players, some more influential. Hell, T.Y. Hilton came in with 3 weeks left in the season and had more catches tonight than Michael Gallup. And you gave Gallup the extension last offseason. That all of this has to be revisited in the offseason when you look at how to make this team better, and having the flexibility to finally get out from underneath some of these long-term contracts, like Zeke specifically, or avoid giving a long-term contract to a guy like Dalton Schultz. The NFC was rife for taking this season. That you just got beat by a rookie quarterback when your defense gave you the best playoff performance it has in over 2 decades.
Sure.
And your offense couldn't move. Your offense could not move the ball whatsoever. Your number 2 wide receiver that you committed big money to off of an injury coming back this offseason, Michael Gallup, had 0 catches for 0 yards. As soon as Pollard went down, you had no rushing attack. Zeke had 26 yards. Pollard had 22. You add in Dak's 22. You're what's that? Upper 80s, or not even. Barely breaking 70 yards. I guess CD had 6 yards rushing, so you're right at 80 yards. This is the disappointment in the offense has to be the first jumping off point here.
Sure. This is different. You're right. It's similar but different to the feeling I had last year.
How is it different?
That now I don't trust the quarterback at all and don't expect him to come back and win for this team. He's not leading them to any big playoff wins next January. He can go win 12 more games. He can throw for 3,000 more yards. But in these big games against these good teams, he's about the 16th, 17th best guy in the league. He got outplayed today by Brock Purdy.
No question.
Now, Purdy's got a better team around him. Fuck knows he's got better coaching around him. But Brock Purdy has moxie that Dak doesn't have anymore, especially since the injury.
All Brock Purdy did was not throw the 2 interceptions Dak did.
And Dak can't not do that.
Brock Purdy did not have a passing touchdown. Brock Purdy,
and that's all it took to outplay Dak.
220 yards, and that's all it took to outplay Dak.
That's right.
That's the bigger takeaway here.
All you got to do is not fuck it up, and you're fine. He does everything else fine, even with the bad leg. He can. They even had him run today, which I'm not sure why he didn't run more, especially once they lost Tony Pollard, and they had a 30% chance of winning the game, in my opinion, before Tony Pollard got hurt. And when Tony Pollard got hurt, he went down to about 10%, and you had to get cute and pull all the stops out. And they decided to make Zeke Elliott the feature of the offense, which is stupid. Which, by the way, at the end of the game, how about the Zeke Elliott deep snapper center position? And then we'd throw to the smallest guy in the NFL, Kevontae Turpin, with the game on the line. And how about the shitbag clock mismanagement by Mike McCarthy? I agreed with you on Monday or Tuesday morning after the Tampa game that McCarthy was safe, ... But let's see what happens. Boy, tonight he got his ass out coached too. Mike McCarthy is kind of like Dak. He's not horrible, but if your goal here is to win multiple playoff games, I'm not so sure that Mike McCarthy and Kellen Moore are the two guys you want in charge of your franchise, which, by the way, it's time for Kellen Moore to go. I've seen this. That's
the
act.
first.
It's the same fucking thing over and over and over again.
That's the first exit.
They're going to lose Dan Quinn because what Dan Quinn tonight was absolutely – Dan Quinn tonight basically he's going to be able to pick whatever job he wants at this point that's going to be available just based on how he got ready for a San Francisco team that's been averaging 35 points a game for the last 13 weeks since Purdy was a quarterback. And they stuffed them. And shouldn't even have given up 19, but Dak Prescott shits the bed twice and gives them free points. Dan Quinn was terrific, and they're going to lose him. He'll get a head coaching job. Kellen Moore should be terminated. And if you're going to lose both your coordinators, why keep your head coach? What is Mike McCarthy going to do that's going to make this thing any better next year? Nothing. Dak Prescott also, what is he going to do next year that makes anything better? He'll be in year 8. He'll be 30 next year. But you're stuck with Dak. You're not stuck with Mike McCarthy. So tonight, I can be talked into getting rid of everybody on that offense. Everybody. I'd love to re-sign Tony Pollard. Obviously, CeeDee Lamb's going to stay. Outside of Tony Pollard and CeeDee Lamb, I don't give two shits who else is on this team next year. I guess the offensive line will be good again. But they don't have the right guy calling the plays, and I'm not so sure they've got the right guy at the top as the head coach. Because you always say this because Sean Payton's the sexiest name out there. But what Sean Payton is, though, is something different. And at this point, at least it's something different. We've defended McCarthy all season. What has Payton actually done on paper that Mike McCarthy hasn't done? Nothing. And I don't know that Sean Payton makes the thing any better either. Sean Payton's not going to all of a sudden coach Dak into playoff performances that are great. But at least it's different, Puma. I don't know how you run this whole thing back next year as a coaching staff.
Oh, the only scenario where you keep any of these coaches at this point is Dan Quinn being the head coach next year. And I'm not
I'd make Dan the head coach, but he may not take it because he likes Mike and he's loyal.
Mike and all the baggage.
He may be ready to get away from Dak, and he may be ready to get away from fucking Jerry Jones.
I mean, if you're Dan Quinn, would you rather take the head coaching job here or be in Denver?
Oh, no question, it's Denver.
Exactly.
I've got unlimited money, owners that I'll never even recognize because they're not always up my ass every day.
Yep.
And I'll take my chances with Russell Wilson. Maybe he figures it out next year because I know I've got a good culture. Well, the water in the company's water fountains is good. It's not rotten like the Joneses.
You've seen Russell Wilson at least show that he can do what Dak hasn't been able to do. You've at least seen whether Russ is obviously he's past his prime window, no question, but at least you've seen him be able to do something that Dak has yet to show in 7 years in the league, as you said. I mean, I think I think the most realistic scenario is there's not a single top coach back. I think head coach, defensive coordinator, offensive coordinator are all gone. Obviously, McCarthy probably gone. Kellen gone for good reason, and Dan Quinn gone because he's the head coach of another NFL team next year. I mean, I think this is the crux of, it's a turning point for this franchise, because you can, although we've defended McCarthy all season long, we've given him credit for being the most successful regular season coach in the NFL, not named Andy Reid, over the last 2 seasons. This is a Cowboys team that had the most regular season wins of any franchise not named Kansas City. But absolutely inexcusable mistakes or decision-making, to say the least, in these last 2 postseason runs. And if you're going to lose Dan Quinn to another organization to become their head coach, if you're already settled on relieving Kellen Moore of his duties, what's the benefit of keeping Mike McCarthy?
There's not.
To still be at the top of that coaching hierarchy with 2 new coordinators underneath him. What's the benefit of consistency at that point? You've seen what this consistency can get you. This consistency can get you the first back-to-back 12-win regular seasons in 20 years, but no similar amount of playoff success as you had when you got rid of other coaches before him, when you got rid of, obviously the last 3 regimes with the Cowboys. It feels like with the availability they have to get out from under Zeke's contract, with the good timing to move on from the offensive philosophy that has gotten stale under Kellen Moore, it feels like it's as good a time as ever to just clear house from the top down, move on. You're not getting out from under Dak. Dak's going to be the quarterback of this thing next year, but you have flexibility not only with the coaching staff, but also Pollard's a free agent. Zeke, you can get out of his contract for a positive hit without taking a majority dead cap money. You have a route for a mini reset here as Dak goes into his age 30 season. And then I would say, after that, then you're looking at whoever is the next regime in here. They've got 3 years with Dak tops before you're moving on from Dak and moving on from whoever that is that's next, whether it's Sean Payton or whoever else.
So if we're on here doing 49ers postgame, here's what I'm saying. Brock Purdy just got started. Is he more accomplished than Dak Prescott is? Well, of course not. Is he more talented? Not yet. Is he physically less gifted? Sure, because he's tiny. But what Brock Purdy did was go out there in a playoff game and let his team win the game around him.
Yep.
And not force shit and turn the ball over.
Yep.
You and I, for 3 years working together, constantly, 3 or 4 times a year we do that. Let's go through all the quarterbacks in the league, and let's say better than Dak, equal to Dak, worse than Dak. And we always come up with Dak's about 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. And we can do it right now if you want to for fun.
No, I'd rather not.
Let's do it right now real quick.
Well,
off the top of your head. I guess I'm making a point here. Ready? I'm just going to start. Tell me if you think this guy's better than Dak, equitable to,
okay,
or I'm going to do it for you. You ready? Because I did it during the
fire.
game.
Okay.
All right. What I have here is these guys are obviously better than Dak Prescott.
Okay.
Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, Justin Herbert.
No question.
Not debatable.
No, add Lamar Jackson into
Hang on.
that.
These are, we'll see where Jackson is.
He still
has not won any playoff games.
But he's won an MVP and he's been hurt in playoff
Let's
runs.
go Lamar Jackson. Now, these are debatable. And this is Russell Wilson coming off the worst year of his career.
Until before, if you had,
is
if
it
we
debatable
had,
or is it not?
If we had done this in the offseason, would you have said Russell Wilson is a worse quarterback than Dak?
No,
I don't think. No.
God,
so
no.
it's not debatable.
All right. Deshaun Watson. Just give me an answer.
Debatable.
Go.
Sure.
Kirk Cousins.
Debatable.
Jared Goff.
Debatable.
Jimmy Garoppolo.
Debatable.
It's now debatable.
It's not. Yeah.
Jimmy Garoppolo doesn't throw shitbag interceptions
That's
in the
correct.
postseason. Matthew Stafford.
Less than. I mean, Matthew Stafford's a better quarterback. He's got
better.
more skins on the wall.
Kyler Murray.
Debatable.
Tua Tagovailoa.
Dak's better. Or debatable.
Okay, Trevor Lawrence.
I'd rather have Trevor Lawrence if you're asking. It's so Trevor Lawrence.
Jalen Hurts. Look at you. Guys will win the MVP this year.
I mean,
he's better.
He's better.
Daniel Jones.
No.
Okay.
No.
Brock Purdy.
I still say no because Brock Purdy went out there and just didn't make the same mistakes. If Dak hadn't made the mistakes he had, it's a completely different game. If Dak doesn't throw 2 interceptions and Brock throws 2, it's a different game. I mean, obviously that's very third leg Greg analysis level for me to say.
If you score more, you're going to win.
But I don't think Brock Purdy shows that he can carry a team as I have seen Dak show he has the capability to do. He just doesn't have the consistency to maintain that level.
I just gave you 19 guys.
Good God.
And that's not even, I mean, we could go further. Like we can go to Derek Carr. We can go to other guys.
Yeah.
At his best, Dak's about the 7th or 8th best guy in the league.
That's a stretch.
At his worst, he's about 20th.
Yep.
And he's at his worst in the playoffs. So what's the point? Who gives a shit if I have a guy who can be a top 10 talent between October and December if in January I'm going to get these 2 shitbag interceptions and I'm going to get him at the end of last year's game forgetting the rules and running his ass down there on a desperation play and trying to spot the ball, which is a blatant violation and gives him no chance for a miracle win, and then get fast forward to tonight in which he was outplayed by Brock fucking Purdy. I can't win with you, but I'm stuck with you, but I can't win with you. So I don't know what to say. They can try to make this thing like what the Ravens used to be with Trent Dilfer, but Trent Dilfer also didn't throw shitty interceptions in playoff games.
Neither did Brad Johnson.
Neither did Eli Manning.
That's correct.
You cannot throw the ball to the other guy in the goddamn postseason, and he does every time. And it's not even just the postseason this year. Sorry to take the Lord's name in vain. It's a Cowboys playoff game, and they lost. Next, I promise I'll do better next year. So goddamn it, I won't do it again. What do we do here? You can't make him stop doing that.
No.
Next year's his 8th full year as the starter. He ain't stopping. And I stood there, I stood by him when they gave him the money. Because I didn't think he'd do this again. I didn't think they'd win the game, but I didn't think I'd be on here talking about him being a shithead. You and I said it to Puma and I were talking before the game. This is one of those games where Dak doesn't even necessarily have to win the game, but it's kind of a legacy game. His legacy is you overachieved as a 4th-round draft pick, and you throw too many interceptions. You make $100 million a year when you throw in the 49 fucking endorsements that he has because he's the Cowboys quarterback. And, that's it. He's a loser. At the end of the day, he's not a winner, but they're stuck with him. I don't know what they're going to do. Because I can sit here and say, well, try to make the team as good as you can around him. I mean, he's going to spot the other team 10 points a game. He's done it for years now. I've seen enough. It's baffling. He's the most accomplished guy that makes the most terrible mistakes in games. I've never seen anything like it. Because he's so good most of the time until the last couple of months. But then he has this great game last week against a bad Tampa team, but he was still terrific. Tampa may suck, but he still had to go out there and have that masterful game.
It's still a playoff game.
I can't deal with that. I can't rely on it. I don't need you to be – he didn't need to be even 50% of what he was Monday night to give them a better chance to win tonight. And he couldn't even do that.
Let's play a quick game. Off-season coming up. What round do the Cowboys take a quarterback in the draft?
The first, if they can. You bet your ass.
What round?
The 49ers would. The Packers would.
What round do they take a running back?
The 12th.
Oh, well, there's only
find
7.
Those guys.
There's only 7. You still need a feature.
Okay.
You don't just pull the guy. No, you don't just pull the guys off the street. What round do they draft a running back? Or I mean, a wide receiver?
I don't know. Mid-round? I don't know.
See, but that's
it's still about the passer. It's still about the pass rusher and the pass blocker.
But that's my line of questioning. When you're looking at this future moving forward, and you're talking about where they're going to upgrade mainly via the draft, are you now ready to look at using a top draft asset on a quarterback? Or are you ready to still reinvest in skill positions, in wide receiver, in running back, in tight end to give Dak the weapons? Or are you ready to pull that trigger and say, no, we're trading up in the second round and drafting a quarterback that falls out of the first round?
I would do that.
See,
I would. I'm ready to groom. I need the next guy.
And if
Dak will start next year, but I need to find somebody else
for no other reason that's your backup quarterback. It's not Cooper Rush.
Correct.
It's no more of this. We're just bringing a guy in that we can cut.
That's right.
We can cut, and no other team in the league will fucking sign him because he's that bad.
You want to fucking win or not?
Correct.
The Eagles drafted Jalen Hurts with fucking Carson Wentz.
Exactly.
The Packers had Brett Favre and still took Aaron Rodgers.
That was a second round pick when they
look at
drafted
the 49ers.
Hurts.
Look at the 49ers' problems at quarterback. They got Trey Lance, Jimmy Garoppolo, and this kid because they fucking draft quarterbacks no matter who they've got because that's the most important position. That's the guy that needs to win playoff games, and they don't fuck around with feelings and contracts. They just bring dudes in that play that position and look at them, getting ready to take a third-string kid to the NFC title game. A place Dak Prescott's ass will never be.
It's time to, at minimum, draft a quarterback that's going to compete with Dak.
Correct. It's time to compete for the job.
Who's the last quarterback that was in training camp that competed with Dak for the job? It's his
nobody,
rookie year.
Because they're too pussy to give him competition.
It's his rookie year when he was the third option behind behind Romo and Kellen Moore.
Yeah.
Who needs to be gone.
Right.
It's time to invest in competition at that position.
And all we're going to hear from their fucking ass, the owner and the general manager, is we still love him. He's our guy. We love him. You're an idiot. You're an idiot. And if I'm Sean Payton...
No other team in the league would love him.
If I'm Sean Payton or Dan Quinn, for that matter, I get interviewed for the job, the first thing I say is, are we going to consider Dak's replacement? If not, I don't want this job. Fuck off, because I'm going to lose with that guy. Dak Prescott is a loser. He's a 3,500-yard passing, 30-touchdown passing a season loser. I'm trying to win playoff games. I don't even need a guy as good as Dak Prescott skill-wise. I just need a kid who won't turn the goddamn ball over and waste the best defensive effort I've seen since the Cowboys, since the early 90s. It's been since Jimmy we've seen a defense this good, and you shit the bed, and now you're going to lose your defensive coordinator, and the defense may take a step back next year. And you going to let that happen? Are you going to let that happen?
Well,
they are.
And you can also argue there's benefit. The fact that Dak hasn't felt any heat whatsoever underneath his seat in his entire career can also be an explainer on the lack of development or the lack of adjustment or the lack of or explain the plateauing of his career that we have seen. I mean, obviously the injury plays a massive fact, but I think it is just looking at how they have invested on team building wise on the offensive side of the ball. It's you let your number one receiver walk in the offseason because you don't like the fact that he is unavailable, is the word you use, Jerry Jones. You take away your number one receiving threat. You don't replace them. You don't use the salary cap room any other way to bring in a player of anywhere near influential level as Amari Cooper. Yes, CeeDee Lamb pops and gets second team all team in his first season as the number one option. But outside of CeeDee Lamb, the Michael Gallup extension is looking worse and worse as instead of it looking better, instead of
didn't do shit.
Instead of as Gallup gets healthier and healthier as the season goes on, the extension looks worse and worse. Because he had a an exponentially less impact as the season went on, week by week. And you just look at the lack of skill players that are game changers on this team. Look at that San Francisco team. Ayuk led them in receiving. Debo is a hybrid playmaker that you can move around the field. Kittle is obviously, the 29-yard catch where Diggs wanted no part of breaking that up, wanted no part of that contact with a tight end across the middle. Dallas, outside of CD, and of course Pollard, who goes down, after what did I say? 22 yards. I mean, 6 rushes. That's all you got out of Tony Pollard before the injury. They even if you defend Dak and say, okay, well, what would another quarterback have done with the weapons that he had available to him? That's still a further detriment on the team building that we go back to from the offseason, where it made no sense, where you trade your most explosive offensive weapon for a conditional 5th-round draft pick that turns out to be a swing tackle that you use intermittently until he's injured. Well, let's go. When the rest of the league is getting first, second, or 3rd-round picks for their wide receivers at the draft. I mean, it's all of it snowballs into the terrible roster construction that they find themselves at a crossroads at this offseason, because you finally have the chance to make up for some of the mistakes of caving to Zeke and his agent when he was in Cabo or wherever he was in Mexico training to be in the best shape of his life before you gave him the extension. You finally have the chance to not only bring in competition for Dak for the first time ever in his career, but also invest in other skill positions through the draft that aren't going to be on long-term deals. Because the other side of this, despite the valid criticism that we give to Trevon Diggs for avoiding the tackle, for being boom or bust on one half of the field.
He wasn't a whole lot of boom this year.
But you're still you're still ready to re-sign him in 2 seasons,
Diggs,
are you not?
I don't know, man. He's a giant pussy.
But
he will not tackle. He avoids contact.
All of that is true.
He should have laid Kittle out tonight, and he wouldn't have caught that pass, and they wouldn't have scored any points on that. Trevon Diggs, I said he had the best season by a corner since Dion, and he did last season because he got 13 interceptions. That's good. That'll make up for being a pussy. But if you're not going to get double-digit interceptions, you can't play on my team. Not even that he doesn't lay any wood. He avoids contact. He did it last week too. I got pissed off last week at the airport in Honolulu watching him run around. He got
spun around like a point guard defending a crossover.
He's like a baseball player pretending to be in a fight. You can't play defense in the NFL and run around and pretend you're involved. Remember when Jalen Smith used to throw himself into piles at the end of plays? Diggs don't even do that. He just runs around a circle. You're playing with 10 guys at that point. 10. I don't give a shit. Yeah, I don't. That's fine. He's gotten better at coverage, but he didn't have the interceptions this year.
But you're looking at contracts coming up. You've got Trevon Diggs in 2 years, Micah in 2 years.
Hang on, hey, Niner gang, that Kittle catch was insane because the pussy ass cornerback didn't lay the wood on his ass. Go ahead.
And it also,
I'm not letting you punk Niners.
It also
49ers
bounced
fans.
off his hands twice, off his face mask once, and then back into his hands before Diggs pushed out and wouldn't even make contact.
I don't want to hear from no 49ers fans unless 2 things. A, you got somebody that you know that plays on the team, or you're from California, because how you cannot be from San Francisco and root for them makes you a mouth-breathing weird fucker.
Or if you want to give the Cowboys
Eagles,
defense credit, God no, I still
I hope the Eagles beat their ass.
I hope Brock Purdy is the next Tom Brady.
Screw that.
Like I don't want to
actually, I hope the Bengals beat everybody's ass.
Correct,
because Joe Burrow, that boy's got some balls.
Well, that's
that dude
accurate.
Wears fur coats to the game. That's a first-round draft pick.
That's a first
He
overall
no lucky
draft
ass
pick.
4th-round pick that got into the league. I don't want to make it. I don't want to turn Dak into the worst guy in the league. But Joe Burrow's who I'm rooting for the rest of the way. Son of a bitch.
It's just
or just AFC in general.
It's just such a different game if Dak doesn't turn the ball.
They
over.
win the game. They win like 12-7.
It's
12-6.
It's not even that we're on here saying Dak should have done more or could have. He could have done more. Obviously, I'm not saying that, but we're literally saying if Dak doesn't turn the ball over twice, the rest of the team performed well enough to win this game and be playing
That's
in
right.
a NFC championship game against a divisional opponent.
Right. I'm going to say something that it's going to come off as dumb talk show guy because the Cowboys will never consider it, but I'm telling you the truth. Why don't you consider bringing in Garoppolo and letting him compete for the job with Dak?
Sure.
Jimmy won't want to do that probably because he wants to start. Hell, he may beat Dak out in training camp.
And it's not
Garoppolo might be a better option right now.
But here's where that's why I asked you earlier, like, where are you willing to invest in the quarterback position now? Because Dallas, because of the contract that Dak has, you're not looking to trade. You're not looking to trade to bring anybody else
but
in.
I'm fine with him not being the starter.
But that's what I'm saying. You're not looking to trade to bring in a Garoppolo because Garoppolo's on the extension to be their backup for multiple years. You're looking at investing through the draft.
That's right.
You're looking at potentially a quarterback that slides out of the top first half of the first round and maybe gets into the back half of the first round like Lamar Jackson, or falls into the second round like Jalen Hurts. And you're sitting there thinking like, okay, if I can draft Zeke's replacement, or I can draft, I know you don't like drafting running backs in the first round, and I don't disagree. No. But I'm fine with drafting them in the first round as long as you don't give them the extension. Draft them in the first round.
That's a fair point.
Run them for.
I'm fine with that.
Draft Bijan in the first round. Run him for 4 years plus the 1 year option.
I said it forever.
And then just let him go.
See ya.
Exactly.
Said it forever.
Exactly. But they're at the point now where the balance between assimilating skill position talent to supplement Dak, to help Dak further whatever he can do, versus using some of that early draft capital on a potential replacement for Dak. And I think you're at the position where you split the pubes. You take whatever best skill position player you can get in the first round.
At this point, yeah.
You hope one of these guys drops to the second round. You snag a quarterback there, and then you're looking at accumulating skill position talent in the third and fourth, specifically on the offensive side of the ball. Because the other thing about this team, you're about to have massive roster turnover. LVE, free agent, played his ass off. Someone's going to give him 3 years, $27 million a season, or $27 million over the course of it, $9 million a season. Donovan Wilson, free agent. Like we said, Pollard, free agent. Zeke, you can finally get out from under it. Dalton Schultz, free agent again after you gave him the franchise tag. Like, now you're about to have massive turnover at the positions that make the most impact on winning NFL games. So now would be the time to actually start that next chapter. And if a guy does fall into your lap at the top of the second round or the back end of the first, take that.
I would too, but they don't have the balls.
And I don't think so either.
The Zeke Elliott contract is the proof.
But the start of, and that's...
They don't do whatever it takes to win.
And that's why I
Never have, not with Jerry.
The start of what would provide me any confidence is if they actually if they get out from underneath Zeke's contract like they can this year for... $7.5 million cap hit instead of 12 like it was this past season. If they move on from Kellen, lose DQ, probably fire McCall, like we could be on the precipice of transformational change and the beginning of what we all look back on and say that was the end of the Dak Prescott era.
Tonight
with the Dallas Cowboys.
We should start that turn. Even if he's there next year.
No,
you can't win with him.
We're saying it could be the start of it in the same way Green Bay saw the start of it with Brett Favre. And then Aaron Rodgers sits on the bench for 2 seasons and takes over the next year. Or, perfect example. Chiefs fans, Andy Reid. Andy Reid saw the extent that he could go with Alex Smith, and then they trade up and get Pat Mahomes in the draft because that's who they identified as being the decision or the fate changing quarterback that could take them to that next level. This does feel oddly similar to the Alex Smith, I can win 12 games every year in the regular season with the Chiefs skill players, but I can't have playoff success. Okay, we got to get Pat Mahomes, who's going to sit for 1 year and then take over. It feels like Dallas has Alex Smith. They need Pat Mahomes. I know that's stupid to say, but
I hear you.
They have the Alex Smith. They need whatever's next.
All right. Appreciate you boys for the super chat donations. We buy beer and cigarettes with your money. I love you hard, and it keeps LG happy because it's production costs. Thank you to Big Al. $5. At least the Cowgirls will get that Texas barbecue, baby. I'm not sure what you mean, but I appreciate the $5. Oh, he busted out with another 5. It's up to 10.
I think that's a blood in, blood out reference.
Yeah, that is.
okay.
That's right.
Open toes for you, baby.
There it is.
Nothing but Texas barbecue.
Worst movie I've ever seen.
Come on,
and this town
now.
loves that. I love this city. The only reason that movie is even on anybody's radar is because this city loves it because it's full of Mexicans. God Almighty, that was the worst movie I've ever. I watched it with you, didn't I, LG?
Yeah.
Because I had never seen it. He's like, dude, you got to see Blood In, Blood Out. How are you, San Antonian? And I sat there for 2.5 hours and felt like Dak Prescott does right now. L. Harley's in here. The Niners fans aren't allowed to be Thunderdome. Yeah, I don't want. If you're from California, you're fine. If your cousin plays for the 49ers, cool. If you're related to the Shanahans, cool.
Yeah, Terrell, you're cool.
But to choose to be a Niners fan, get your ass off I don't want you watching. Jeff Smith, what's up, Holmes? Sorry, Mike, I can't cheer for Philly. Look at all the Big 12 quarterbacks in the playoffs. Who would have thought? Hey.
Yeah, Big 12 legend, Geno Smith.
I know. It's not that I want to root for Philly. I just really fucking hate the 49ers. I hate the fucking 49ers,
I still hate the Eagles.
Hate them.
Still hate the Eagles worse.
You know, it's funny. I don't
Still
hate
hate the Eagles.
I don't even hate the Giants or Washington or Philly. I respect them because I've seen them so much. But the 49ers, I respect the 49ers. I just don't like them. Just the history of all that shit, you know. And they're really good. They represent greatness. Yeah. They represent greatness, and I resent that. I guess a lot of it's resentment. Big Al, you really rooting for Philly over San Fran? I mean, in all kidding aside, I'm rooting for whoever. I'm rooting for the AFC. My man Joe Burrow, who's become my favorite quarterback in the league, and I'll root for
Texan
I'll root for East Texan Patrick Mahomes, although Jalen Hurts is a Houstonian. Adrian, 1999. Thanks for entertaining me after the Cowboys games. I know, Adrian, and we'd be doing it again next week, but Dak fucking Prescott blows. And here's the thing. He does blow. I mean, let's say he doesn't throw. He could throw for 5,000 yards, 55 touchdowns. But you equalize you cancel all that out with these shitty interceptions. You suck. That means you suck.
We've reached the point, like, the defense of Dak Prescott for years now has been, look at what the potential shows us he can be at his best.
He'll never do this in a playoff game.
As we started the show talking about.
Yeah, this was it. He had to show that tonight.
We're now at the point of Dak Prescott's career where we can look and say, all of the performances that we're basing that judgment off of are in regular season games.
Correct.
Outside of last week, last week again should not be discredited. That was a massive accomplishment in Dak Prescott's individual career. The 4 touchdown passes, the rushing touchdown, the 300 plus yards. It's not taking away from what he did last week. It's looking at the inability to maintain that momentum, to maintain that consistent level of play, because that's the red flag on Dak. The red flag is the lack of consistency, not the massive highs we've seen him be able to achieve.
Sean Payton and Aaron Rodgers with the Cowboys next year.
They don't have enough draft capital.
I know. It just sucks.
Well, and
it
that's
sucks.
the other
They're fucking stuck with him.
That's the other thing. If you're to believe reports, why would you give up a first-round draft pick to hire Sean Payton? And you're letting go of Mike McCarthy. You still have Dak. You're giving up your first-round pick for Sean Payton. I'm not sure that doesn't set you back 2 or 3 steps.
I know.
Seems like
it's time to go get a young kid that'll push him. I'm just joking. I'm at the end of the rope with Dak. And it's time. And I realize he's going to
It's
be the
time
guy
for
next year, but it's
competition
time for competition.
At the
But
minimum.
do they have the nuts to do that? No, because they care about feelings. They care about feelings. Okay, the one and only. I'm only reading this because you donated and you're a subscriber. Is Danucci still available?
Hold on.
Well, what have you done?
I just saw a super chat pop up from Papa Giorgio himself.
What's up,
there.
Papa George? Oh, what's up, homie? $11 with that money you make? Come on, Big George.
Hey, don't trust me. It's dried up. We ain't making big money. What?
Oh, he just
Clint
texted me.
Longley's
I would have
not
given
dead.
more, but I'm too busy paying my kid's car payment.
There you
that's
go.
what it is.
Hey, that car's paid off, homie. We're good.
Don't you owe him a bunch?
No. I've long ago just resolved to bury that debt and not
Work it off
get-
with love and kisses.
That's correct. Yeah, I work it off with trips back up home at the holidays.
Yeah, take Pratt, the kid from Tulane. He'll go to the fourth round.
Okay.
Whatever.
No, that's
sure.
No. That's not what we need because we're not talking about taking another flyer on a fourth round quarterback. That's not what I'm saying at all.
Trade up and get you one early.
Exactly.
Yeah, like the Packers would do.
I don't want to see them taking, or like the 49ers have done.
Every year.
Like the
They don't give a
49ers
shit.
had a quarterback that took them to a Super Bowl and said, you know what? He's not good enough. We know that. We're doing what we have to do to draft a quarterback in the top 5 picks of this next draft, Trey Lance. Granted, that whole philosophy is fucked up now because they have Brock Purdy, the last pick in the draft.
Because they don't give a shit about all they care about is winning.
It's exactly right. And it's not about how it worked out for them. It's the fact that they had the balls to instigate competition.
Right. And if the starter gets his feelings hurt, then he ain't the guy anyway. Fuck his ass. You bet your ass.
And that's why I don't want to see the Cowboys taking a flyer on a 4th round quarterback out of fucking Tulane. I want to see them trading up to Will Levis if he falls to the back half of the 1st round. I want to see them trading up and taking a guy at the top of the 2nd round if there's someone there that justifies that pick. We don't need another Dak Prescott we get lucky that we drafted him in the 4th round and he's turned out to be a average to above average quarterback. We need a guy that has the pedigree to be someone that you can rely on to win playoff games.
Robert, Thunderdome, patience, brothers. Patience, my ass. Patience, my ass. That was 2 wives and 4 kids ago since fuckers won a game that mattered.
We've got the oldest quarterback in the playoffs. What patience is there to have?
Bullshit.
Look at the rest of the league.
No, that's bullshit. All right, let's get this. Love you. Thank you for the donation. 94 feet beyond with Sandberg and the boys. Hey, stop that crap. Jerry Jones, that's a drop.
That's a drop.
So's that. All right, let's get the sponsors in. Thank you so much to Pickleball Giant this year. Those guys have been huge for us, keeping this show lively with their support. I appreciate it very much. Robert and Ava and the people over at Pickleball Giant. By the way, they just posted on their Facebook page this week that they're hiring. Pickleball Giant needs employees. That means their business is doing better. I wonder how that happened.
That's what that sounds like.
So thank you so much to Pickleball Giant for being the primary sponsor of this show.
Be one of the employees that teaches the couple jack-offs like us right there to return serve in pickleball.
Robert, Ava, I'm sorry we couldn't get you to the NFC Championship game, but you chose to sponsor a Cowboy show.
We did our best.
We got you to the second round.
We got you a playoff
That's
win.
pretty good. That's pretty good. All right, and thank you to R&R Auto Glass. All year long, R&R has also been right there with us, one of our longtime buddies over at 281 in Tacoma, right there by the airport. R&R Auto Glass, serving this fine town since '06. No matter what it is with your glass, if it's damaged, they'll fix it. And if you mention me, they'll give you a Taylor Especial also this season. Thank you to JM Pool and Spa. My boy George, family owned and operated, Poodle San Antonian, serving the northern San Antonio, Lower Hill Country area. If you got a pool and a spa or both, that's a lot of fun. Sucks to have to keep it up and maintain it and clean it. You don't need to. Hire my boys at JM Pool and Spa. They'll keep it clean for you. All you got to do is swim in it and enjoy the thing. They'll take care of the dirty work at JM Pool and Spa, swimming pool and spa specialist in San Antonio, Texas. All right, we couldn't agree more, and we'll take this back. We'll take this to the radio tomorrow on iHeart at Ticket 760 from 2 to 5. Our new start time, 2 to 5.
I don't want to burn
more Dak talk tomorrow. Why he needs to be replaced as soon as possible.
I don't want to burn a whole lot more of the wick here because we've got a lot to overreact to on the terrestrial.
We'll spend the week
airwaves.
doing it. Yeah,
but this is back-to-back playoff games where you had a defensive lineman tackle an offensive lineman on a run play. Last year it was Randy Gregory. This year it was Hankins that they brought in at a week before the trade deadline. It just feels like that's a perfect analogy for where this thing is at right now. You have defensive linemen holding and flat out tackling offensive linemen on run plays. That's where the Cowboys are right now. They are stuck in NFL purgatory where they cannot do anything that's going to be a terra firma foundation for the future.
the faith that they lost in Brett Maher, they need to lose that faith in Dak Prescott.
Correct.
Now, they can, but in public, they need to profess their love for him whilst trying to replace him because
That's
it may
correct.
take 2 years. And if he can't handle it, to hell with him. He's not the guy. He throws turnovers. He can't do it.
He's at least the guy that now has shown he needs competition to elevate his game. Like Dak, we might be sitting here talking about.
I'm not even sure that'll work.
I'm not
He's
either.
30, man.
I'm not either.
He throws interceptions.
But we're talking about at least a guy that we've seen do in the past what we would expect from a starting NFL quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to tell me the last grasp of hope that you can win with this guy, in my eyes, the only thing you can do to finally prove once and forever that he is going to be a guy that's going to be a viable option for the next 5 years is to bring in competition this offseason. You have to give him competition this offseason because you have to see how he responds at this point. There is a scenario where a late first, early second round draft pick causes Dak to refocus, causes Dak to elevate certain elements of his game that gets him to a consistent level. Because we also, I mean, going back, you asked me earlier, you know, comparing all the quarterbacks and where does Dak stand? You know, Matt Stafford led the NFL in pick sixes when he was with the Lions 1 year. Matt Stafford led the NFL in interceptions the year he won the Super Bowl with the Rams. Granted, it wasn't in 12 games like Dak led the league this year, but still a lot of the same narrative revolving around Matt Stafford is what we're talking about right now with Dak. Mm-hmm. That can go one of two ways. That can either go the way where he gets traded to an organization that takes winning football games more realistically in the postseason, like Matt Stafford did, or he can end up continue to be what Kirk Cousins is currently. Everything you expect of him is going to be what he gives you in the postseason. He's going to have flashes in the regular season where he looks like a top 10 quarterback. And then when it comes to postseason football, he's going to be average at best. And I think the only, outside of just flat out moving on from Dak, the only scenario where I see him elevate his game is to bring in some form of competition.
Agreed.
I don't see how he gets better on his own without that.
Dak just spoke and called the number of interceptions he had this season ridiculous. And said, quote, I promise the number will never be this high again. Too late, bud. I don't give a no, I don't. Too late. Too late.
Hopefully it's not that high again with Dallas.
Still ain't buying tickets next year.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna run it back with you because you promised me this won't happen again. You did it this year, you know. You did it this year. You threw a lot of picks. No, that's it. I've seen enough. That's it. It's not gonna. You don't get better after 30. He's just a turnover machine, and it's not going to stop. And I agree with Puma. It's time to begin the process
at minimum.
At least, and I said this. I used to say this during the Romo years. bring in somebody that can at least compete with him and make him re-earn the job. And they never did it, man. Never. They were too pussy. And they got lucky on Dak when Romo was clearly at the end of the line and they drafted a guy in the 4th round. They didn't bring him in to compete with Romo. They got lucky.
John Kitna as the backup. That was still Romo, right?
It was, and it was only because Romo got hurt all the time.
Yeah, because you had Kitna,
and he was at the end.
And then you had what was the other backup they had brought in at that point?
They don't they don't think Dak is near the end. Romo was.
And that's what I'm saying. It's all been veterans on the after any signs of being a starting quarterback. Like, we don't need, when I talk about investing in competition for Dak, I don't want to see them bring in a 34-year-old quarterback to be the backup and compete with Dak. I want to see them spend early draft capital on someone that's going to, and frankly, I want to hear Dak say, I'm not here to be a mentor. I'm not here to teach that guy how to be a good quarterback in the NFL. I'm here to win a starting. Like, that's what we need. That we need to hear.
He needs to be pushed.
We need
to hear
be
hard.
A lot of the same comments we heard from Brett Favre when the Packers drafted Aaron Rodgers. It feels like that's the parallel that keeps coming back to my mind.
We always hear about how much pressure he has because he's the Dallas quarterback, and he makes 40. He's got $150 billion in his checking account. I want that kind of pressure. Give me that kind of pressure. It's not about, he can handle the pressure. It's physical. He throws interceptions, period. You can't win games with guys that throw the ball to the other team, period. That's it. All right. We're done. I think we're going to do this on Wednesday.
Kyle Orton was the name I was trying to think of.
And see, they brought backups into Romo because they wanted to protect themselves because they thought they were a Super Bowl contender.
Exactly.
You and I can preach what they should do, and we will because it's our responsibility. There ain't no way in hell they draft a quarterback. No way.
And that's why I'm saying
early.
I don't want to see.
They don't have the ball.
They're at the point where don't give me a Brad Johnson. Don't give me a Kyle Orton. Don't give me a John Kitna. Give me a early capital draft investment at quarterback to compete with Dak, because it's time, at the minimum, it's time to make him compete for that starting job.
Yeah. All right, that's it. Thank you to LG. Thank you to Puma. Mike Taylor Live will resume on YouTube on Wednesday night, will it not? I believe it will.
Possibly.
We'll let you know. You got a porn convention
Possibly.
or something? Oh, okay.
Oh, God.
Let me check with LG's schedule and we'll get back to you.
Let's check with the AVN schedule.
Yeah. Are the adult awards this week or something in Vegas?
The OnlyFans showcase out in Santa Fe.
All right, that's done. We're good. I love you boys hard. Thanks,
this has
everybody.
Been fun.
It's
been a fun run.
We got one more game than we did last year, so that's progress. All right.
Sure.
Thanks, everybody. See ya. We'll see you on the radio on Ticket 760 on iHeart in San Antonio tomorrow. And we'll see you back on Love You Hard TV on Wednesday night. I think we'll let you know. See you, boys. Love you hard.
Overreact is brought to you by Pickleball Giant.